understand here. So when I say a dimension, right? So just try to focus here. So we'll just try to understand a few particular concepts, and from there we'll get started. So we'll just try first, take an example and then we'll just try to understand it. So when I say a dimension and then say a fact, right? So here I'm just writing, so just try to concentrate here. So it is a textual, or else I provide a descriptive value. Okay, so let me put till this point. I'll just complete it in the next, and then it is a numeric value uh, so which has impact on the business, so fact is a numeric which has impact on the business. So this is a key thing, which has impact on the business. And when you say dimension or when you say attribute, I'm saying that so it is a textual or a descriptive value. So if you see any column, say whatever column it is, so if this particular column X contains some characters like ABC or some particular text in it, so just remember, so that particular column definitely will not be a fact, because fact always will be numeric. Fact always will be numeric. So any particular column, you see a textual data, then blindly what we can say is, we can see that as a dimension. We can say that as a dimension. But whereas when it is a numeric, right? So here I have just provided one thing. So it is a numeric which has impact on business, So the same thing basically. So if I say if it doesn't have impact on the business, so then it is a dimension. Say for example, it is a, or instead of it is, I provide, say it can be, a numeric value which instead of has, right, I provide which doesn't have impact on the business. So whenever it is numeric, now you need to take into consideration whether it is going to impact the business or whether it is not going to impact the business. So what does this particular impacting on the business means? So basically whenever we talk on a business, right, so it reflects your KPIs or like sales, profit, unit price, cost, all these particular things. So whichever we consider as amount fields, right? So all that specific thing, any particular column which has numeric and it is going to impact that amount fields, then it is a fact. If it is a numeric and that particular numeric doesn't have impact on the business, right? So then we say that one as a dimension. That one as a dimension. For an example, we'll take some columns here and then you just try to analyze on your own, and I'll give, say for example, a 5 to 6 columns. So just try to see out of that particular columns, tell me which column do you feel is a dimension and which column do you feel is a fact. So from there we'll get started on this particular dimensions and facts. So I'm just providing, say for example, I have one of a column in which I'm storing, say for example, customer city, and say for example I'm storing, say for example, and then I'm providing another column, say for example quantity, and so I have a column, say for example region, uh, region as in region ID, like 1 2 3 4 5, like that. And apart from that I have say a discount, and then say for example I have unit price, and then say for example I have customer SSN and apart from customer SSN I do have say customer underscore Okay, assume these are my few of the columns here. So from this particular columns, right? So just tell me. So I mean, you can just ping me or you can just unmute and then tell me. So however you feel is comfortable. From this particular list, just tell me. So which columns you feel are facts? Only you tell one, like the opposite becomes like dimensions. So I just expect you to tell only the facts, the list of facts in these 9 columns.
It is quantity, region ID, discount, unit price, and customer SSN.
Okay, so let me, write like whatever you have said. So you said quantity and then basically you said a region ID and then say you said basically uh, a discount, and apart from that you also said unit price, and then one last thing you said is SSN. So did I miss anything? Like I mean whatever you said, right? So from this particular list did I miss anything, or like whatever I put
No,
it's fine?
that's right.
Okay, fine. So anyone, right? So basically just look at this specific thing and then just tell me. So do you have a different opinion, or like say your friend says out of this particular 9, say 5 are facts and then rest 4 are dimensions. So if you have any different perspective to this particular thing, okay, I feel okay, this should be a dimension, but it is a fact, or in other words, the vice versa, right? So any opinion as such, you can just provide in a minute or two. Okay, it's correct. So anyone with a different perspective. So other than this, you feel like, okay, certain things have to change here, you can just tell me your inputs.
The region is the dimension.
The region ID can be a dimension. Okay, fine. Okay, one like point I want to bring out here is any column, any column here. So why it is fact we didn't came to any conclusion. I'm taking an inputs basically. So you feel something, you can just tell me. Fine. So one specific thing I just want to tell you is one column cannot be both. It will be either a dimension or it will be either a fact. It will be a dimension or it will be a fact. So just remember only that one. So a column will be either a dimension or it will be a fact. So now just don't tell it can be or it may be, right? So only one thing. So whatever you feel confident and just tell me, okay, this I feel a dimension. This is a fact and so on. Just I give another like couple of minutes, then I'll tell like all things here. So whether any of these things is correct or incorrect. So what I tell basically is now whatever I see, right? So I tell all are not correct. So whatever the list here, right? So this is not correct. So region and SSN are dimension. Okay, so I'm just for a minute what I'm doing is I'm just removing this particular region ID here, and then I'm removing say for example this one, and then I put like this. So right, so how many people feel this is correct one, or like you want some changes? Anyone feels that okay you require some additional changes to this particular whatever we have defined here? So people are already provided your inputs, fine, and to that one, so SSN is a fact, only SSN is a fact, okay, fine. So then what else? Any other views from any person? Okay, fine. So fine. So just try to understand here. So whatever you are saying currently, so this is the correct one. This is a correct one. So whatever you are seeing here, right? So only three facts here. One is quantity, the other one is discount, the other one is unit price. Rest all are facts. The reason, sorry, rest all are dimensions. So why all are dimensions basically is, so when you look at customer city, definitely it will be in textual. Item name textual. Need not worry about it. Directly these two are dimensions. Quantity, definitely it is going to be a fact because you purchase one item, only one, and then you, I mean, purchase five different quantity. There will be a difference in the price. So quantity is a fact. Good. We'll come back to this one. Discount again has impact. Unit price again have impact. Customer state again will be a textual. Customer country is a textual. So again the confusion lied only on couple of things basically. So one was region ID, the other one was SSN. So if you look at both of them basically region ID and then basically the SSN, right? So these are numeric, fine. I mean these are numeric, but basically this particular things like region ID and then probably the SSN, right? So these are used for basic unique identification. Say for example, to identify a customer uniquely, right? So basically we define this as a key column. So yesterday we said something, some key has to be there, right? So this is how we define their particular SSN or like their particular, say for example, account number or something. Those will be like your mobile number, right? So your zip code and so on. So all these specific things, right? So are used for unique identification. So they are numeric and probably some people here, right? So SSN based on my SSN, then the relate credit history, all this is secondary. But SSN basically is an ID which is used for your unique identification, which is used for your unique identification. So whichever key it is used for unique identification, so that thing comes as part of the dimension or an attribute. So whenever we say dimension, it can be a numeric value which doesn't have impact on the business, which doesn't have impact on the business. And this is what the examples here, whatever you have listed here, right? So this is the perfect one. And then when I say a fact, it is a numeric value which has impact on the business. So whenever it is textual, I mean, you need not worry, but whenever it is numeric, then only you need to consider whether it impacts or whether it doesn't impact. And the second thing basically is, so whenever it is numeric value, right? So basically some of the things like your customer mobile number, right? So the customer mobile number is also unique, used for unique identification. So generally here comes, it can be numeric value which doesn't have impact on the business. So general examples here. So a lot of people don't know this concept. So leave it. We'll discuss over the weekend this one. So all your primary keys and then all your foreign keys, right? So they will be an example for this particular thing. So most of the cases, the numeric columns will be your key columns like primary keys and foreign keys. So as of today, we'll just skip this one. So what is primary key? What is foreign key? We'll just skip it and then we'll continue like probably over Saturday or Sunday. I'll take some database concepts. So people who know already can skip it. People who don't know, they can join that particular session. Right, fine. So now the question here is, now whenever you create a report, basically now let's try to understand like, I mean some more concepts here. So I've just put here half definition here. It is a textual or descriptive value. So I'll just add some more things to here. Just try to focus here now, guys. I mean, this is important now whatever we discuss as per reporting. So now basically, so when I say fact and then dimension, so just try to understand here. Say for example, I have a customer underscore ID and basically I have say what is that particular amount. I mean he has purchased in my store some particular thing and I got some particular sales. So out of which, say for example, this particular customer and I have some day ID and then I have sales. So 01 customer ID on, say for example, day X, some specific day, he has purchased for some $100, say 02 customer, and that particular 02 customer on that same day X, he has purchased some particular product for $20, and say for example 03, and then say on the same day X, he has purchased basically for say $50, and then similarly same customer ID with 02, he went into store on some other day, day Y, and then he has purchased for, say for example, $200 some product. And then 01 customer, he went on, say for example, DZ, and then he has purchased some particular product for $50. And similarly 03 customers, on some day he went in and then he has purchased for, say for example, $100. So in this way your table has lot of values like 01 customer on specific day, this much amount, and so on basically. So you have this particular information here. Say for example, in this way there are like millions of transactions, because whatever transaction you do, whatever other transactions they do, right? So in a Flipkart, or you take eBay, you take Amazon, so there will be lakhs of transactions happening on a single day. So on that specific lines, so different customers on the same day they buy it, and same customer, right, he can buy on different days different products as well. So once he does that one, say for example, I want to find out, say for example, say I want to find, just try to see customer wise, I want to find out who are, like say, put in other way, I want to find out top 10 customers. So I want to retrieve top 10 customers based on sales information. So who is performing more sales, right? So this is what the information I need to get in. So in order to get this information, so what should I do basically? So can I get this information or I cannot get it? And this table, assume it is storing data for entire January. Assume this is a January 31st today. So on January 31st, so I have data in this table from January 1st till January 31st. So this is day 1, this is day 2, assume so on till 31 days, and different customers information I have. So using that information, can I retrieve top 10 customers based on sales, or it is not possible to do it? If yes, then what should I do in order to get the data? So my requirement is from this particular table, I need to get top 10 customers. First thing, is it possible? Yes. If so, like the question, next question is how we can get that one. Okay, so instead of full up, right, so generally we are going to sum up. So what we need to do basically is you need to sum all this specific thing, say 01 and then 01, wherever you see the occurrence of 01 in that month. So you need to sum this $100 and then you need to sum this particular $50. For example, I'm telling, so I'll get like this 01, and then say he has done shopping for $150, and same 02, if I take 02, say for example $20 and then $250, so it comes close to $270. And then say for example 03, a $50 and then $100, so $150. So in this specific thing basically, so what I need to do is I need to sum up all ones, I need to sum up all twos, I need to sum up all the IDs basically to get that information. Or else from all the list of the days, I want to find out, so what are my, say for example, so what is, I mean in the entire month, right? So which day the sales are high, which day the sales are high. So from that particular entire month, so which day the sales are high, I want to get that information. I want to get that information. So to get that information, So what we need to do basically is you need to sum up all the days. So whichever transactions happen on day X, you need to sum up. So whichever transactions happened on day Y, you need to sum up. Similarly, for all 30 days, day 1 you sum, you get some amount. Day 2 you sum, you get some amount. So in this way, you sum from day 1 till day 31. And out of this, you can just sort it ascending, descending based on a requirement, and then you can get which particular day has the highest sales, which day has the highest sales. So in order to get this meaningful information, so what you are doing basically is you are just summing up your sales value. You're summing up the sales value based on the requirement here. You're summing based on a days, or else you're summing based on the customers. If you want top 10 customers, you sum customer ID. If you want which day you have, then you need to sum your sales based on the day ID. So each of this value here is a fact. So whatever value you are seeing, right? Say for example that $100, $20, $50, each of the value here is a fact. And generally, so these particular facts, what we do basically is we are going to aggregate them on the day wise and so on. So in order to get metrics. So what is metrics basically, or measures is, it is an aggregation of facts. It is an aggregation of facts. So you aggregate sales by day. It is called measure. You aggregate sales by customer. It is called measure. So whenever you sum up, right, of facts, you just sum certain facts to get a meaningful information, then it is called measures, or in MSTR MicroStrategy we call them as metrics, and the business users they refer with KPIs as well. All are one and same. So okay, so now on the report, basically, so what we place is we don't place facts because the client doesn't want this on day X what all transactions has happened. Instead, they want to see on day X what is the total transactions that has happened. They don't want to see this customer one has done 1 million transactions. They want to see that 1 million transactions sum. So that is where measure. So on the report, just remember you don't place facts. On the report, you don't place fact. So what you do basically is you are going to summarize the fact based on different dimension like customer ID or day ID. So based on different dimension, so in order to get the measure, so what you do basically, you are going to aggregate the facts in order to get the measure. So once you have that particular measure, right? So you place this particular measure and then you place this particular dimension on the report. So on the report, what we place? We place dimension. In MicroStrategy, the same dimension we refer as an attribute. So we place attributes and we place metrics on the report. We place attributes and metrics on the report. So now to complete that attribute definition or dimension definition, we'll take one example basically. So assume for an example, you are a, say a business user. You are a business user and then I'm a, say for example, a MicroStrategy report developer in which I'm just trying to develop some report. Say for example, so you ask me to create one report and then I've created one report, say for example a report one, and in this particular report, so what I'm showing you basically is, so this specific report has, say for example, category, and then say for example it has, so it has, say for example, category, and then say for example, so what are different subcategories, so under which I have, say for example, electronics, and then yesterday we have seen it will have multiple things. So on the report what I'm displaying basically is, so it has, say for example, mobiles, and then say for example it has, say for example, laptop, and then apart from laptop, so it has, say for example, tab, DVD, DCR, and so on basically. So now you are a business user, and for you as a business user, I'm giving this information basically like category, subcategory, or say for example year, and then say for example I have year, quarter, and then I provide, say for example 2016. Okay, we are in, say for example Q1, and then similarly, so for example I provide an information like Q2, and then I provide an information like Q3, and then I provide information like Q4. So look at this particular two reports here. So report 1 is category subcategory information, and report 2 is basically year and quarter information. So now you are a business user, and for a business user I'm giving a report like this. So by looking at this report, first thing, are you able to analyze anything? Fine. And second thing, so out of your analysis, are you able to take any decision, or it is not possible? So what do you feel basically? So this particular report, as a MSTR report developer, I've created it and then I've given to a business user. So you as a business user looking at these reports can perform certain analysis out of it or no. So how about others? I've got input from one person. So how about others? So no, couple of them, no. Okay. Basically, if you look at this particular report here, right? So just try to understand here. So this report has information fine, but this particular report, right? It is showing under category what are subcategories. All your business user knows. Under year what quarters everyone knows basically. But now this doesn't help. Okay, so this doesn't help your business user to perform analysis. For an example, just to this particular report, so you add certain metrics like, okay, what was the sales that has happened? Sorry, what was the sales that has happened? And out of that particular sales, what was profit that has happened? Okay, under mobiles, so there were sales on that specific day for, say for example, of 15,000, and then out of which, say I've generated, say for example, $400 profit. So this particular figures is going to help your business. So now till this point, right? Or else say for example on other way also it doesn't make sense. Say for example you provide something, say for example profit, and then say for example revenue, same thing $400, and then you have provided say for example $1,500, and then you have provided say for example $200, and then this was like say for example say $1,000. So this is how, say for example, you give any report to user, even this is not going to help. So you have only metrics here: $400, $1,500, $200, $1,000. But now the question here is, so what is this particular $400, or what is this particular $1,000 or $1,500, right? So this information again will not help you as a business user. But again, to this particular thing, basically you provide some dimension like mobile or something, right? So then definitely it is going to add input to, or like it makes your report more meaningful. So say for example to this one you have provided some item name. Say for example I have some item, and then that particular item, say for example I provide something called mobile here, and then I provide something called laptop here. So then once you provide information like this, right, so it is going to help you. So any report you develop, right, so generally if it contains only dimensions, then again I mean it may not be that helpful. Or it contains only metrics also, it doesn't again, right, help in analysis. So to this particular metrics, so what you do basically is you add a dimension. You add a dimension. So what dimension does? It explains what, on what you have done your profit, on what you have achieved your revenue or sales information. So this particular dimension, when I say dimension, right? So dimension is a textual or a descriptive value. So what it is doing basically to your facts, like when it had 1500, 400, it doesn't make any sense. So when you added that item, so what it has done, that item basically is descriptive value which adds context to facts. So what it does basically is to your facts that 1500, 400, it is going to add meaning, and technically we call that one as a adding context to the facts. So they define the facts. So without dimensions, you put only that numbers 500, 1000, 1500. So that is not going to make any sense. So whenever we say dimension, so dimension is a textual or a descriptive value which adds context to the fact. And then it also, right, it can also be a numeric value which doesn't have impact on the business. And these examples we'll see the primary keys, foreign keys in a coming days, as I said. And whenever it is a fact, so fact is a numeric value which has impact on the business. So when you take any particular column which you feel that it is going to impact the calculated fields or like amounts, then that you can consider as a fact. And generally you cannot place, yeah, the reference of data, yes. So now basically, so now if you look at measure, so what is a measure means? Measure is an aggregation of fact. Measure is an aggregation of fact. So whenever you are going to develop any report, right? So what you do basically is you are going to use dimensions, and then you're going to use measures on the report. So you create a very basic report that contains attribute and then measure. So you need to understand what is attribute and then what is a measure or metric. So we'll just understand it because on our next concept itself, so we have dimension tables and then we have fact tables as well. So during that we'll again see some more concepts related to dimension and then related to the facts. So before we get further, right, so just want to ask you, like, anyone has any questions on these definitions, because this is what the basic we require to get started with the tool. So these are three concepts, and again three concepts: dimension table, fact table, and then we have to learn schema to get started with MicroStrategy. So these are the key things. Whatever you learned till yesterday, you can just skip it. That is only for an entry. You can just refresh at any time you want. But this is very important from our day-to-day practical stuff. So any questions, anyone? What is dimension? What is fact? Or what is measure? If not, then we'll continue. Okay, so now moving on to the fourth concept we have is a dimension table. So what is a dimension table? So we shall just try to focus basically. So whenever we say a dimension table, just an important note here, just try to see here now. So whenever we say a dimension table, so this particular dimension table, right, so you just remember, so any particular dimension table, it should it should only contain dimension keys. It should only contain the dimension keys. So what dimension keys means? So what does that mean? Basically is any textual column, or basically any of the primary key, or else any of the foreign key, and at times there will be some particular columns, right, which are like numeric, but they are not even primary, they are not even foreign key, they are like numeric, and then basically they don't impact the business. So any numeric columns which doesn't impact the business. So these are the things basically. When I say dimensions, a dimension can be a textual column, or it can be any primary, or else it can be any, say, foreign key, or else it can be any specific numeric column which doesn't impact the business, so this is what you need to understand. So any textual column or primary key or foreign key, or it can be numeric column. What that means basically is, say for example, I'm creating one table, assume for a minute, so just try to see. So I'm creating surrogate key. We don't know even primary keys, Tarun. We don't know primary key, we don't know foreign key. So I mean, so if you know it, like basically you have to wait it, because all things we cannot do on a single day. So surrogate key is some advanced concept, so you should know slowly changing dimensions and various other things, but a lot of people here don't know even what is primary key, foreign key. So that's the reason I said over a weekend I'll explain this data warehousing concepts, sorry, the database concepts like primary key, foreign key, composite keys, and so on. Right now, basically, uh, numeric column which doesn't impact the business, that is fine. So now I have a table, like say, which is a geography table, and this particular geography table has information like I'm storing country, then I'm storing region, under region I will have different states, under state I will have cities, and under each city I will have different employees, assume for a minute. So this is my table basically. So in this particular table, so I have country, region, state, city, then employee, and here I cannot add something called facts. So if you look at this one, a geography table is which type of table here basically is, this is a dimension table. This is a dimension table, and this dimension table you can have, say for example, country, region, state, city, and for this particular table I will have something called employee ID and then say employee name. So why employee ID basically means, so I want to identify uniquely a row in table. In the entire table I want some unique identification. In that unique identification I cannot have city, state, because under one city there will be multiple employees. So on that lines, what I do basically is, for employee ID I'm going to create this as a key column, means it is going to identify every person, this employee ID. Fine. So now this particular employee ID comes under here basically. It is a primary key or it is a numeric column which doesn't impact the business basically. So this is fine. If it contains some key column, it's acceptable. It contains some textual value, it's acceptable. And then if it contains some foreign keys, it is acceptable. But again, basically, if you look at all these particular columns, they are acceptable in the dimension table. But when you try to place sales, right, so this is not the good design. So you're not creating the correct design for the data warehousing. So whenever you define any table, any dimension table, so you ensure that that dimension table is just going to contain that dimension case. It only contains, sorry, it only contains a dimensions, that is a textual column, primary keys, foreign keys, and then numeric columns which doesn't impact the business. So you should not place facts in the dimension table. So that is a blind rule. So one thing basically, you should not have any of the facts. So in the dimension table, so what is a node basically means, so you should not include any facts. So all this particular thing, don't worry, you don't do it. So all these dimensions, dimension table, and like fact tables, schema, everything is done by the database team. It is done by the database team. But before we pull the reports, right, we need to understand the terminology, what is there at the backend, for which we are learning all these particular concepts. So we need to understand, okay, DB team has created this, and these particular things we should know what we have to bring into the micro strategy. For this, you need to know these particular concepts. But again, all these things in real time you don't create it. So this is done by a ETL or a database team. Then after this, you have a fact table. So in the fact table, So what basically you store basically is, so obviously one thing, facts. So in the fact table, so it is going to contain facts. Facts means, any, numeric value which impacts the business. And apart from this, so this particular fact table are going to contain the dimension keys. They are going to contain the dimension keys. So what does that mean? So when I say a fact table contains the dimension keys, so what is that? Can you provide some example means? So just try to understand basically here. Say now, say your particular business is into e-commerce, or basically it is a online retail. On that particular online retail basically, so what you are doing basically is, you are a customer, and then you have a customer table defined in your project. And in this customer table, while you initially, right, to book any product, they will ask you to enter your name or register in that particular site. So for which at least you provide your basic information, as you provide your, say for example, name, and then you provide your, say, mobile number, and they at least collect your, say for example, email ID, and then say for example, customer address, and an address, city, state, all these particular details. That is fine basically. So under customer table, you are going to store all these particular details here. Alright, fine, good. Now basically, right, so having this particular customer details, right, it doesn't help basically. So what is that required basically is, okay, this particular customer, right, has purchased what, and out of that, what is that profit I achieved basically. So that profit, sales information is going to present where means in the fact table. In the fact table, okay, this particular fact table is having sales, and then it is having, say for example, profit. It is having sales and profit. That is fine, good. So it has sales, profit. But now if you look at this particular table here, customer table and then fact table. So between these two tables, is there any relationship that exists, or there is no relationship that is present between customer table to the fact table? So what do you feel? So between customer table to a fact table, is there any relationship, or there is no relationship? So there is no relationship, because only the thing between two tables, there should be some common column. There should be some common column. So if you look at this one, so there is no common column here. So out of this particular thing, so I have different things here. Customer name, customer mobile number, email ID and address you have captured. So just tell me, out of this specific four columns, which one will uniquely identify a person? So I want to identify uniquely a customer. So out of this particular four columns, which one do you feel is going to uniquely identify a customer? Mobile. So everyone same. Mobile, or like any others have a different opinion? So email ID. Okay. Fine. Perfect. Email ID is one option. Mobile is another option. Then how about others? Name, can name be unique? Means no, because with our name there will be a lot of persons. Even with our surname there will be a lot of persons. Same the address, in one single address or one single location there will be different persons. Alright, so whatever you said is correct. Mobile uniquely identifies, email ID also uniquely identifies a customer. Okay, so when you have such scenario, right, so then in these two things basically, customer mobile number and customer email ID, so you are going to identify which one, right? So this particular thing basically contains a textual data, and this contains only numeric data. Agree everyone? So out of this one, mobile number contains only numeric and email ID contains a textual, right? So when you have such scenario, when two columns identify uniqueness, so which column you need to prefer as a key column, as a primary key, unique identification, that is what the primary key. So which column you want to have as a unique identification or primary key means, So you are going to go with the numeric columns, because if you have that on a textual columns, it is going to impact the performance. It is going to impact the performance if the primary key is defined on the textual column. So why all these things in detail, what is primary, all these things, I'll tell you on Saturday or Sunday, this particular weekend. So now, so you have primary key now defined on customer mobile number. And with this particular mobile number, I've done many purchases. Say today I've done one, booking, then after 10 days I've done it, 5 days before I've done it, and so on. So each time you perform a transaction, that particular thing is going to come and present where means in the mobile number. So same mobile number, on day X you have done some transaction, day Y you have done some transaction, it is going to store all that details. So with this mobile number on specific date you have done this much sales, out of that company got this much profit. So you do using your number 10 times, that 10 times the record gets stored here basically. So on that specific lines, right? Okay, so now if you look at a fact table, so what is mobile number? Is mobile number a fact or is mobile number a dimension? So customer mobile number is a fact or customer mobile number is a dimension? Yeah, perfect. Customer mobile number is a dimension. So primary key fine, but it is a dimension. So now important for us is not keys, basically a dimension or a fact. So when we say fact table, so the fact table is going to contain the dimension keys, because having this key column is going to establish relationship between fact table to your customer table, right? So hence you will have in the fact table. So here this is a dimension key, and then you have your date. This is also your dimension key. So this is also dimension, and these two are facts. So whenever we say fact table, right? So the fact tables is going to contain, fact table is going to contain facts and then the dimension keys, facts and then the dimension keys. So this is what, like the fact. Okay, so now if you look at this specific thing, so when it is a fact table, so the fact table is going to contain the facts and then the dimension keys. So when in case of dimension table, what it contains means it only contains a dimension. It only contains a dimensions. So yeah, the other concept we have to learn before we get into MicroStrategy is the schema stuff. The schema is very important, and then again very simple. You understand what are dimensions, what are facts, what is dimension table, and then what is fact table, right? So rest everything will be simple. So on that lines, right? So guys, you just Mm, I mean, I'm just not going to start with schema, because that schema takes an hour or like at least 45 minutes to complete the schema part. So what we do basically is we'll just end our session here, and then tomorrow we'll get started with the schema. So under schema, what are types, what is schema, and that is a key thing, because in an interview, every interview you go, they'll ask that question, schema. And to understand schema, these are the concepts which we require: dimension tables and fact tables. So once you know these concepts, then we'll just get started on the schema stuff tomorrow. And tomorrow, once we are done with the basic of this one, we'll get started with MicroStrategy introduction as well. Tomorrow I'll start with the MicroStrategy tool basic, and then whatever this primary key, foreign key, all these things, right, I'll plan on the weekend. So fine then. Thanks all. For joining today's session. So we'll. Yeah, no, Tarun. I cannot just continue now. The reason is that I want to start something fresh, because that is a key concept of like all the concepts we'll be learning this 5 hours, right? So that schema is important thing, and then I want to start it say when you are fresh or during the starting. So fine then, thanks all. We'll just catch up tomorrow at same time and then just continue up the schema stuff. So yeah, good night everyone.